Sorry, Mr. Ben, I was not. I will miss that. What went well?
Yeah, there's a lot of.
When you hit the, no,
Mark won't be here tonight.
Okay.
All right, we ready? You guys ready?
Oh, yes. We have one.
Oh, yeah, more people coming. Oh, there we go. All right, we're ready to get this meeting started at 6:01, April 28th, 2022. We do have a quorum present. We have Matt McMahon, Kathy Mercer, Johanna Wells, John Deere. Who we have more? And we have Will on Zoom. Mark is unable to join us this evening. Make a motion to approve of prior minutes.
I'll second that motion.
Anyone have any questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
No opposed, motion carries. Officer reports. I don't have much, just Frontier. I've been working with them extensively the past couple days, week, I should say, or so. Good news is engineering should be done with everything they have to do to lay the groundwork here, and we should have Frontier up and running. They have a scheduled install date for me for May 7th. We'll see how it goes. It's a big ordeal because we have fiber everywhere in the subdivision, except for any of the HOA stuff. So there's no fiber here, there's no fiber at the pool, there's no fiber at the dog park. So they're basically trenching under the street at the pool. They're pulling from a box all the way down by the school, and they're pulling from a box over there on the corner. Great, it's a huge engineering feat, and they're paying for all the work, so God bless. See how that goes. That's all I have. Anyone else?
I distributed the balances on this evening. Two items on this report are actually items in the agenda, so I'll skip past those, but we just to read into the minutes here that we're still pending for bank accounts, so we're waiting for a meeting scheduled with Associated later on this month. And once we get that established, we'll have a better idea when it's going to be completed. As far as there's an item up here that will ask for clarification, but not asking for tonight, is that the master reserves went down by $4,505.17. It looks like to be a transfer to the Villa Reserve, and I'd like to know the explanation of that from Associated when we get a chance. Again, not asking for that explanation at the moment. So the other than that, everything else seems to be in order as far as the talk about.
Very good. Community manager report.
The only major item was at the meeting that I attended was they're planning to try to refund the community development district bond because they're hoping to get a better rate. When it was first put out, it was at a higher rate because it was more speculative because they weren't sure how much it was going to sell. Now that we have sold out pretty much, it means we're much more stable from a bond perspective. So that's going to continue. They're not allowed to do it till or May of 2023. They have to keep the bond for 10 years. The bond was initially done in 2013. So they're going to continue to work on it. They voted to approve the plan to do so, and they will spend months planning on it, but it will not happen until early next year, spring of next year, if it happens. And that will also depend on what the federal bond prime rate happens. So it may happen, it may not. It depends on the rates. But that was the key issue that came away that I thought.
What's the current rate?
I think it was 7.21%. In fact, it is 7.21%.
What was their bond amount?
With
You
what?
think their bond amount? Sorry.
The bond amount was 11,210,000. No, that's outstanding on 2022. I think it was a $13 million bond originally. But the outstanding is 11,210,000.
Although the timing may be off from what we understood, because with the interest rates creeping up, it may not be advantageous just before we move on.
Correct. Well, they just said they're going to investigate and then they'll decide what the bond rate is.
The other thing that's important to note for everybody is we can only do this every 10th year. So once they refund it, we have to wait 10 years to do it again. So we're also arguments about reducing the payoff time. If we can keep the interest rate and not reduce the payment, whether we pay it off in 15 as opposed to a 30, or whatever schedule we can come up with, and that's something that we're researching too. So hoping maybe we can hear some next month.
You don't do it at 10 years, which is next May. Do you have to wait the full 10 years before the next time, or do you have a window each year after that?
The answer to that is that after the 10 years expire, we can refund it at any time. But once we fund it, we have to wait another 10 years.
Right.
Okay,
It's also important to note that this is the CDD,
right.
not the HOA. So it's not
Yeah.
us.
No, I
We're
agree.
just attend the board attend the CDD meetings as members of the community and HOA representatives. It's important to allocate that. We have no say on what the CDD
I
does.
understand that. Spent a lot of years working with this stuff.
Yeah, no, got it.
They've hired a third-party contractor that will fund it and keep track of that and present things. Their fee is substantial.
Right.
But it offsets by this interest rate savings if that actually happens.
Yeah.
They get nothing else refunded.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Community managers report.
Delinquencies, 5 files were sent to the attorney in April due to non-payment. The attorney did collect $1,565 from previous delinquencies sent to their office. It should be noted that I did go to TJ Evans is here from Associa. And I did go to him the other day and had asked if he was able to get accomplished. We had the $15 delinquency processing fees for the letters removed from the ledgers that were hit in April, and then the HOA will not be charged on the admin bill for those delinquency letters. So those have been zeroed out. There were 8 new owners in April. But some of the things I'm going to skip over because they're on your agenda. For instance, the fining policy, I will skip over that. Update on bank signature cards. Those were submitted to our banking department on April 22nd. So I will be following up by Monday if I don't hear from them by tomorrow. We do have a reminder of a meeting with Board of Reserve Study on May 9th. To review the several reserve studies that they've drafted for you. Under maintenance, fire protection, that is on your agenda. Pool, Department of Health did their inspections on April 4th. I attached my reports, those reports to this one. The items noted by the inspector, those were taken care of by your contractor, and I informed the inspector of that. The only thing that's waiting is the metal support arm for the pump enclosure. We're waiting for that one to come in. Umbrellas and furniture. This year, if you remember, was budgeted to replace or add 4 umbrellas to the pool area. There are some that are broken, so there'll be replacements. We're also going to look into, I have JR looking into replacing, a cost to replace the tables and chairs. Some of them are chipped, broken, they just don't look good, so we're gonna submit 3 different prices for the replacement with the hopes of having that on the May board agenda. Splash pad repairs, that is on your agenda. Pressure washing at the pool and building was completed late Tuesday, reopened the pool on Wednesday, did an inspection. While it's clean, the building definitely needs to be painted. Faded paint, I guess maintenance in the past have done some spotty type of paint jobs in areas. So I'll be compiling those prices for you. Excuse me. Fitness center equipment repairs. The cable needs to be replaced in that one treadmill that has been down. We're still having problems getting parts for things. Things are taking a lot longer than they normally need to. So they're gonna get back with me by Monday to see if the part is in, so they can get that replaced and get that one up and running. The other thing is that the replacements of that equipment along the window. Since I've been here, we've had several issues with incline not working, motors going out. Those are owned by the HOA, those machines. So I'm getting with the contractor to get several different prices for the replacement of that equipment and a trade-in value for your current equipment. The TVs will not work on those now with our upgrades, with Tommy's upgrades, because of the coaxial cable. So I will get that price to everyone and looking to see them replacing them maybe sometime this year. But I'll keep you posted on that. I'm also getting prices on replacing the carpet in there to a more durable, hygienic type flooring. That's just disgusting. And it's dirty and you can't clean it very well. Construction trash at Sandpiper Crest Townhomes. Tommy's been part of these emails. It's been a weekly report to Park Square on their construction crews not cleaning up after them. It has gotten better, but still, their lunch bags, their drink bottles, the construction bins being completely full, and then more trash laying on the side. So there's broken magnolia tree over there that they've still not addressed. So I am working with Troy Wilson, who is their head of their crew, and trying to get this cleaned up a little bit better. Sagewood and compiling quotes for the yearly pressure washing of the homes, driveways, and sidewalks. So you'll see that in the next few months. The entry gate maintenance contract that is on your agenda. Westlake fence, I submitted the quotes for that. That is on your agenda. Landscaping irrigation for the pool. When I did the inspection of the pressure washing job, I also found some areas of landscaping that needed addressed, and I've attached those pictures in the report. I did speak to the supervisor. Side note, the supervisor that was on crew was let go the other day. They've replaced him. There's been some communication issues on his site. We noticed them ourselves. So I met with the new supervisor today. He's already working on things that were lacking attention to detail. They've also changed the crew to the old crew that they had, which was a much better crew. So we'll start seeing some changes in that. Sod replacement for Sagewood and Paired Villas. The new supervisor, his name's Daniel, he'll be assessing all the yards in those 2 neighborhoods in May, and he will report back to me what yards need to be replaced the square footage of those areas. I'll put them and compile them into a report, and he will provide the quotes. And the goal is to present it to the board for your June meeting and install in July. Mulch install, that is holding for the Westlake approval tonight on your agenda. Once, if it does get approved, then they will be installing the mulch in all those areas by the end of May. That is the goal. Westlake landscaping, that is on your agenda. The grinding down of the stump behind 5905 Nature's Ridge in Westlake was completed. CDD, trash cans, maintenance, our maintenance, JR reported smell coming from the trash receptacles in the CBD areas. And upon inspection, he removed the bags and found that other trash had been accumulating at the base underneath the bags, feces bags from animals, and their contractor was not removing them, so it was just accumulating. So I brought that to the attention of their manager. Graffiti at the barbecue pavilion was removed April 18th. The barbecue grate at the pavilion had a resident ask if they could use that to cook on. And I did ask the CDD manager, and she reported that it is a historic pavilion not meant to be used as a barbecue. And the district engineer will be on the call when they have their meeting the first Thursday of May. And we can inquire then as to why it's historic or why it can't be used.
Really a historical barbecue.
Say again,
Historical barbecue, huh?
the pavilion is a
Andrew Jackson.
historical building
That's what I'm thinking.
and not to be used for
Sorry,
that.
did you say historical?
So that's why there's not a grate there.
Oh,
Based on how old do they qualify for historical?
I don't, she hasn't given me a reason as to the historical value of why it's considered historic.
about 12 months, give or take.
That's something that we can ask. Maybe it was on the property when they built and they left it, and so it's historic from the original owners before development. That's the only thing I can think of. I don't know. Sagewood, the bald cypress trees on the north side of the retention ponds. I had Sunrise Landscape inspect those trees. They were reported to us by a homeowner that was concerned about them. However, they were dormant. They do lose their leaves, and the moss that was on them is called lichen. If I'm pronouncing that right, I'm pretty sure I am. It is not a disease. It plays an important role in the healthy habitat because it absorbs carbon dioxide and other pollutants. They do drop leaves in the winter, so they did look unhealthy, but they are flourishing now. There's leaves on them, so they are looking good. The area around the DRA within Sagewood that was questionable as far as who's taking care of it, from the sidewalk to the edge of the DRA itself around, when you look at the property lines, it's the CBD, and the CBD said they're not going to take care of it. Apparently they're taking care of it now, and I've had that inspected a couple times. So we're not taking care of it, and I did talk to the new supervisor, and he understands all of those, all that information.
Meeting adjourned now.
And that completes my report, although I did include the violations at the end of my report, work order report, full inspections. Any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So on the pool umbrellas, I've noticed that they're not closed at night. So I wonder if they're getting caught in the wind or such. Is there any way we have
Our only, well, so maintenance leaves before 5 o'clock, so people come. My only experience with that is we used to put little signs on the posts, say, please remember to post and not use. A sign can work only so much, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, unless you have somebody babysitting the area all the time. If we have impending storms coming, obviously maintenance will pull those umbrellas and then store them properly, and there just won't be any out there, but we are entering soon in the hurricane season, so that's something that,
I'm sure if you engineer something to do it automatically, if you guys want to do that.
hey, that would be great. Yeah,
I just noticed it's if you get an evening storm come through, they're just gonna be open there.
yeah, I mean, like I said, if we know of an impending storm, maybe sometimes you get one that pops up, you can't do anything about, but we do keep track of, especially in the hurricane season, we keep track of what's coming, and we'll be preventative of that, and pull anything down that, you know, if we need to secure the chairs or anything like that, but when you have something that pops up at 7 o'clock at night, and you didn't expect it, so, you know, yeah.
And one follow-on question, on Sagewood, do we know when they're gonna be finished with their major construction work? Do we have any timeline?
Sagewood?
Not Sagewood.
Oh, Park Square. Their intended date is by the end of this year. They just finished building 9. I'm not sure where that's located, but they did ask for the irrigation to be put on because they installed landscaping. They haven't had any sales reported to me as of a week ago. Now, we have had a couple people come in that have purchased, so I always check every month their new closings, but as far as construction, it's intended by the end of this year.
If I may, is it possible to put some kind of a limit on sales, several communities that put a limit on sales at home because of supplies?
She didn't say, so that's a good question.
They've had a sign on the front door of their model for a couple of months that says sold out.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah.
Well, as of their last report, they weren't sold out, they hadn't closed, they had some pending closing dates for months and months down the road, but that doesn't tell me they sold.
Yeah.
You know, when I contact them, I ask them, what have you closed on the last 30 days?
I understand.
Right,
I'm just saying that's what the sign says on their model.
yeah,
Discourages
The budget we said it was not compensating for the unsold ones, we were budgeting on what we already had sold, so it's anything we sell and get dues from is nice. So
absolutely.
that's great.
How many are still outstanding? You know,
I have to get back to you on that number, I don't remember.
Heather, I have a couple of questions. As far as on your work order report, you have a column that says date received on the request, the owner's request or whatever, manager's request. And then on the status, it's all they say is printed. Can you tell me what is the normal turnaround on a request?
It really depends on what it is. Some of the issues that do you have one you want to point out that might be?
Well, we'll just look at things like in the common area. We'll take, for instance, the common area, replace lights in the lake house.
Yes,
That was reported at the beginning of the month, and it doesn't seem to be closed out.
so that particular one, we have several issues. One, those particular lights, JR looked up, and what did he put, $500 a piece for some outside lighting? It's the outside lighting in the yard that I wrote up, because a lot of them just don't work. The ones
Correct,
in
and
the
I know
ground.
that from walking.
Yeah, he looked up that model, and that style, and they were close to 500 a piece, very expensive. So he's working on finding something that's more comparable on that. So it's basically just research, just slowing him down. You gotta remember, he started, what, 3 weeks ago? He's done more work in 3 weeks than he's just been doing a lot. We were without a maintenance man for a while, so some of these things he's catching up with.
And I understand that. I was just, my question, perhaps we could put another column in here or even in the status to give, like for you said, for the one on the lights is, you know, the costs on those or researching or something besides printed, that this doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, there is a section that we can go in and updates and put in there researching prices or on order. We can definitely do that.
I would appreciate it because this doesn't tell me, I mean, because if I look at something that's been requested, you know, at the beginning of the month, here we are at
You
the
just
end
think
of
it's
the
being
month.
sat on. Yeah,
What are we doing about it?
absolutely. We can communicate better on that.
Okay, And then in regards to your violation report here, and where you're sending out letters, and of course, we get billed for every letter that you send out. When you go out and see a violation and you see the, because you also said here that you've talked to the homeowner or whatever, do you give the homeowner an opportunity to correct that violation before you send a letter out?
Well,
No, I send a letter out for, what, Sean?
And how would they know if you don't? submit?
Right, exactly. I don't call anybody. The first notification is the letter, and depending on what the violation is, if you read your in the ARC guidelines, it does give a certain amount of time frame for whatever the violation is. So it will, I'll either do a 5-day or a 10-day or a 30-day, depending on what it is. If it, for instance, somebody needs to paint their home, I'm gonna give them 30 days. And that's not 30, that doesn't necessarily mean 30 days to complete it, because you never know, that's a big cost, right? But they need to get back with me to let me know what their status is. And when they do, I'll go back into that violation, I'll update, spoke with the owner, this is what their plan is, or spoke to the owner, they submitted an ARC request, anything like that. When they don't comply by the deadline, the next step is the fining process.
And I get
Right.
I get the process.
Okay,
Specifically, I mean, if we want to be specific, you sent a letter to Sean
Oh,
or about
I
his
like this. Oh,
the columns.
temporary columns.
Mhm.
But I know that you spoke to him. Did you speak to him? Did
So
you
so
send us?
afterwards, he sent me an email after receiving it.
Actually, I got a notice from town square the same day.
Yep.
And I complied with it by an hour later.
Right.
Okay.
And see, that's the benefit also of being on Town Square, is that the minute that I create the violation in the in C3, it immediately communicates to Town Square. And whoever has an account on Town Square that's getting a violation, they're gonna get a notification. I literally got an email from Sean within 2 hours.
And that was.
So that's really good, you know.
Yeah, like I said, we get charged for every letter that you send out, and I want to ensure that if by posting something on Town Square, not Times Square, I'm sorry about that. And sending Sean, Sean saw that notice, is that we could have eliminated sending that, the cost of sending that letter.
The problem is, not the problem. The requirement is that we have to send that paper letter. Because let's just say, when you brought Sean into this, that I don't, let's just say.
Well, I'm just using Sean
I
as an
have a
example.
resident, you're,
Because I won't get offended by it, so just use me.
Yeah, I know that he won't be offended.
so let's just take it to the extreme process, right? So I send a first letter, they don't comply. Then we go through the fining process or whatever policy that you have enacted. We put forth the fine. The attorney's gonna ask, where was the letter? I need a copy of that letter. Then I produce that letter. Then it goes to court. The judge is gonna say, where was your letter? You have to physically have the letter. The Town Square notification is not legal enough now. Maybe that will change in the court system someday. But right now, we have to send that paper letter. And at some point, we have to send a certified letter. So when the fining process happens, when I send that letter, I'm gonna have to send it certified return receipt to get that green card back. I knew a manager one time that sent one of those, didn't get the green card back for whatever reason, even though the homeowner received it. They went to court, and because they didn't receive the green card back, the homeowner won. So it's really important to have those physical pieces of information.
And I am all for documentation,
Yeah.
absolutely. I'm also on the side of how is it we could save some money.
Right.
So,
Well,
That
and
those
you don't want to do that at risk of having major violations in your community too. So it's not like it's not a perfect storm, but where do you stop?
and I'm fine with that, but what I was, trying to get across is that I know that if you're out doing your inspection and you see something and that homeowner is in the front yard or whatever, and you've told them to, what to, pick up the trash or whatever it is, and it gets done, the cost of sending that letter, we could have eliminated.
And you're correct in that, but I'm gonna play the other side of that. Because it's been there before. I can verbally say something to somebody on a Monday. And Thursday I go, and even though they said, yeah, I'll take care of it, Thursday it's not taken care of. I've just wasted 4 days. Now I have to start and send them a letter. So if I have a resident, I had a resident that I had a resident called and complained about someone. And I had to send the violation letter. Ironically, the resident who I sent the violation letter called me unrelated to something else. And when I was in the system, I was pull up the other tabs to find out, have they paid, have they, just to make sure. And I said, oh, by the way, I had to send you a violation letter. So I will notify them that I had to do it, it's procedure. They don't get mad, they understand. But doing it verbally, you can't always guarantee compliance.
I think in her case, she's saying, I didn't get a verbal warning, I got it, it was done through town square. But the question is that legal tender? And if that's the case, Tommy, do you know if they gave a timestamp on delivery, receiving thing in town square? Did you research that at all?
No, I don't know. That's a
They
good
did
question.
have a timestamp that I actually received it.
I don't think there's a receipt timestamp.
Yeah.
So that's the question. I already received it. I complied. There was really no reason to send out a letter. I guess is what she's trying to get at. We spent the money anyway, even though I've already in compliance, and there's not really much to go back, but I get all that. So I think I agree with both sides. It's just basically, can we eliminate a step if it's happening internally? In between the two steps.
If I may, we've been through this before, probably about a year ago, also with Kelly. The $1.08 on saving on paper and mailing stamp. It's who we are. It's the cost of doing business. That's what we came to, and I do agree with that. Yeah, you get a violation, we mail it out. That's the cost. That's just not happening.
But the cost of doing that times,
Well, it's also that.
But that's the cost.
It's not the paper and the stamp. I'm talking about a fee from the labor on it as well.
exactly.
I agree. If it could be eliminated, that'd be great. I don't think Town Square could really eliminate that. I don't think enough
Yeah.
people are necessarily on Town Square to even eliminate that. I think it's just the cost.
And email,
For now.
you have to have that documentation.
Well,
For that, for every 100,
for those
you
of us-
may send 1 or 2 or maybe 5 to the attorney. And the attorney's gonna say, well, how did you notify that?
Right.
Right? And if I haven't done my job correctly and notified them, even though it costs you $1.07 to send that out, it's back to square one. I've not done my job. We have to start all over again. It could have been 30 days.
But the state charter doesn't allow, if you dropped it in writing, which I know that's another thing, for electronic notification, that is a valid notification, if that's correct. So in that particular, if you had someone who's on file with electronic notice, will we necessarily need to mail it in? If I definitely signed that paperwork, and I agree with electronic notice, and I obviously paid attention to it. So not everyone's like that. We have to have all those ducks in a row in order to track that to make sure that falls in place, and that becomes another form of complexity. So I get what we're doing. Maybe there's a better way to look at it in the future. That's what it comes down to. Just right now, unless everybody, we voted this year to do everything electronic notification, but how many really signed the paperwork? Not that many. I mean, we counted them. There's like 60, 65 or something like that. 400 that we had voted.
And again, but even then, even if we had everyone voting it still comes down to the attorney wants paper.
Sure.
And, the systems that spit this out, whether it be through Town Square or whatever the violation system is that they're using, it spits it out.
I'm sure.
Mail it, $1. For now.
I do have something to add to it's not really asking a question, but it's a request. Our area does have budget for pressure cleaning too. So
I'm sorry, what?
our area has budget for pressure cleaning.
Westlake has a
So
budget.
if it seems prudent to get quotes at the same time to save money,
For the sidewalk.
sidewalks and curbs, right?
Yeah. No, I'll do that all at the same time.
Okay.
Okay. Old business. Westlake fence.
What about me?
Oh, I am so sorry.
Yeah, I
Committee
jumped down by
reports.
going early. I went early.
Just everything.
Yes,
Very sorry, Joanne.
okay,
We
so,
want to hear about yours.
so with the Easter egg hunt, we brought in 1,295, with 268 tickets. I estimated we probably actually had more around 300 people, and, you know, coming to the whole thing. And then I think the food trucks, my understanding, did really well.
They did fantastic. They had one barbecue truck sold out.
Great.
Everyone did gangbusters. They did, we're doing a little over $2,000 a truck.
Yeah, so event was very successful. There's requests for summer, so I'm gonna be looking into that, and we'll be working on the budget for that. And I think the other one is going to be our fall event, of course, with the Santa. We have a lot of information and data on that, so hopefully next meeting we'll talk a little bit more about that. Also, we have a request for yoga during the summertime. And we actually have right here.
That's me. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Amanda,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
wanted to teach a weekly yoga class. I've been teaching yoga for 11 years and moved here from New Jersey last year, and just have been trying to get in touch with the right people to figure out how to make it happen. So apparently you're the right people. So yeah, I was thinking like a weekly. We talked about maybe Saturday morning class.
Hey, I have a few questions regarding that.
Yeah,
How are you getting paid? Are you getting paid? Do you live here? Are you doing this free?
so I live in Fishhawk West right now. I do have my own LLC, so I can take payment myself. I can rent the space. We didn't fully talk about that. I'm not sure what.
The only reason I really ask, and we would figure it out if you're taking payment directly or if you're doing something on an Eventbrite sign up. We could
Sure,
probably do it either which way. But if you are taking payment and profiting off of it, which is fine,
sure.
we do need you to name the lake house in your insurance policy.
Okay.
That'd be the
That's-
only thing required.
Yeah, that's not a problem.
Other than that,
With the loss pay is the association.
I'm sorry.
The loss pay would be the
This
association.
is-
Right.
Okay, yeah, I would just have.
Yeah, I've talked to Robert, our insurance guy about it, and that was kind of the thing, if it's a non-for-profit, and you live in a community and you're doing it for free, then
Right.
you still have to have your own insurance, but you don't have to name us harmless, but if
Okay.
you're doing it as a profit, we have to name harmless.
Yeah, one of my friends said that someone used to do it here and she charged like drop-in price or whatever. I mean, if it was on a regular basis, I think I would love to charge if that's okay, and then just do it that way. And I don't know if there's like a rental or we could talk about that, but that would be ideal.
Typically, the policies are really, right, very expensively, it's usually $1 million coverage, loss pay money. And, you know, can be written through our insurance company as us being insured with the coverage. Or you can have your own letter, and you want to do that, but it would have, $300 or $400 a year, it's not terrible.
For the insurance? Okay. Yeah, I have insurance. I think I have it on.
Right, but you have to have a letter that names us as loss pay and liability for the building.
Yeah, if you call them, they will give you a right. of course.
Okay.
That's one of the things I had said in the email.
Yes.
originally, So,
Yes.
months ago, yeah.
Yes, they do, yeah, and at that time, I think I just was like, okay, first, I wanna make sure it can happen, but yeah, I can definitely do that, call them up and do that, so I guess I can move forward on that and see what that will.
Sure. Yeah, I'll just give you my opinion on it.
Yeah,
I would get the rider and I would charge a ticket rate for it. And
would you say you would what?
I would charge a ticket rate for it. You
Okay,
know, I would book the classes out. That's just my opinion.
do it like a series kind of thing?
I think
Yeah.
you're gonna get booked.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, it'll just be a matter of like figuring out how to do that through. Okay,
There's a couple different ways,
Yeah, absolutely.
for
I
sure.
mean, I actually have an online platform that I use, so I know I can even do it through them. But
That would be fine
okay,
too.
awesome.
And if you need help, I can help you out with that. Joanna can help you out.
Absolutely.
I'm not doing the yoga.
I might do the yoga,
I'm not
but.
doing the yoga.
You'll be the one who says how not to do.
Yeah, I'll have to do the yoga.
Yeah, you should do it during one of our lunch breaks, so you can have peace and serenity.
Yes, 100%.
But I would say moving forward, maybe just get together and, figure out what the plan is and what dates she wants and when we're open up the lake house.
I think we kind of discussed a little bit in the emails about the dates.
Yeah, there was only currently at that time, I don't know if Jennifer Schutz it was Saturday since, but there were those 3, and there was only that one that was at 11.
Okay,
But if you're doing it from 9 to 10, they don't have access until 11 anyway, so.
And let's, we'll have a separate meeting. Let's figure out what it's gonna cost per ticket. If you're doing something that's just recouping costs, then you're not exactly having a profit margin in there. We don't have to charge you for the rental of the lake house, because then it's a combined effort community event.
okay,
If it's something you are making a profit off, which I'm not against you doing,
sure.
we would obviously want to charge for that.
Okay, yeah, is there a way to get the info on like what it costs to rent versus?
Sure, so
Okay.
it's, what do we have, 150? Yeah, 150 for 4-hour block.
For
For 4.5 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, that's understandable.
So, and then usually we do $200 deposit.
Okay,
And you get the 50.
gotcha. So for the hour, would you kind of just divide it or?
No, we don't typically do that. I mean, the board hasn't allowed that, but
Okay.
the policy is 4.5 hours and.
Well, could you do it, I mean, something to discuss, but could you do it compiled, it's 4 hours over a month?
We could. As I'm saying, let's figure out what works best for you.
Okay.
Again, it all comes down to if it's something you plan on profiting off of, then we'll figure it out. Because then you're
Okay.
making money off the space, we'd like to make a little bit off the space as well.
Sure,
But
of
if you're
course.
not, then
Yeah, I like that suggestion though, the compiling, if we're gonna, the thing, I think that would be a fair thing to
I
do.
thought it was the first step was to have her work with the social committee and basically get the details down and present the board and get credit from there.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, that sounds good. So for my next step, just contact my insurance company, I guess, make sure that I can get it set up and then, or we can talk about the pricing first, whatever. you guys
yeah, I would do both.
think. Okay,
Honestly, it's gonna be a quick phone call and you're gonna know. He's not gonna say, hey, yeah, we could drop you in for $200 for the year. He's gonna tell you it's gonna be $1,500. Whoa,
Okay.
Joanne and Tommy, this isn't attainable for me. What are our other options?
sure. Okay.
So, yeah, so we basically, what we need to do is figure out where that pricing for everything is. And then once we get that down, then I think we have no problem moving ahead and reserving the space.
Okay.
So that's where we're at, I think.
For sure.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Okay.
I actually have to run in a minute, so.
It's nice meeting you.
But nice meeting you too. Seems like there's a lot of moving parts here, so
Yeah.
good job for all that you're doing.
Some not moving as fast as.
Some not moving.
Some moving forward, yes.
Some of them will be slower than others, you're right.
Thank you for
Take care.
coming.
Have a good night.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everybody.
Do we have a date for the next social meeting?
I will put it, where are we at? It's gonna be in the beginning of the month. I haven't posted it yet, but I think we'll probably Monday. What was that?
May, you said.
May,
March.
I'm sorry, May. We would be in May, I would probably the 12th, I think is what I'm thinking of in the evening, so probably post that and then we'll plan from there. And I think that's all I have.
She's in space too, we'll be down.
She said I was sat down. I brought a pen. Okay, perfect.
Okay, I'm the next one.
Anything else for committee? Are we ready for old business? Old business, Westlake fence. Everyone get a chance to look at that?
Thankfully, yes.
Painfully.
It is painfully. I
Yes.
put some notes down here, obviously, just for price. The cheapest repair comes in at,
Motion?
didn't make one yet.
We don't need a motion to discuss.
I didn't hear a motion to discuss.
We
I
don't
didn't
need
make one to
one.
discuss.
Yeah, well,
We don't need one. We need a motion to vote on something to pass, but not to discuss.
Open for discussion.
This is open for discussion. What does everyone think?
I personally being the chairperson of the committee at Westlake, will promise you the replacement costs will make them go ballistic.
Oh, for sure.
When we did the poll, we asked them to do a poll, what, 2 months ago? I did a poll, and the majority of the people there was 17 of the 20 some odd that actually participated, more than 50%. Just wanted to repair what was broken. And the budget that we set forward was $5,600 to do that. The repair the bad course comes into that. Any of these other things hit the reserve at a big cost because our reserve is only $49,000 to start with. So that means that that's going to affect our reserve study, which would have to be altered because of it. If we're spending it out of the schedule that the reserve study says. The reserve study only budgeted $21,000 to replace the fence next year. So that has to be looked at when we talk about the reserve study meeting and affecting the dues because of it, because they can promise you it's going to offset. So those things are things that can be for the discussion for the fence. I would like to, and I'm asking for a request. I was out of town the last 3 weeks, so I didn't have an opportunity to set a meeting for the members of Westlake, but I would like to do that and post it to me to discuss it before we get to the decision on it. If that's interesting.
It does seem fair, but if I may, just
Yes.
comment on that. I agree with Westlake talking about this, except for the fact that we're not replacing these fences.
Okay, so
So
that number's out.
We're really gonna just do a repair. It's in our budget this year. I really do think it's the right move for now.
If we're just repairing
And the only other reason I push it is because we can't really move forward with the berm replacement till the fence is figured out. Because they gotta do whatever they're gonna do to the fence first before we repair the berm in front. So it kind of just holds everything.
Well, the berm replacement is separate here. That's
It is separate.
okay. I'm seeing
I was gonna say the burn
just
replacement.
landscaping projects as a whole, but not separate from that.
Yeah, it's included in the landscaping project, yeah. If you were drilled down in PDF, it's all right.
I got a question, I'm confused, because I thought the berm and foliage was in lieu of the fence, so we're replacing the fence.
You have another line item?
No,
for
so-
Landscaping, and one of the quotes is for the berm.
The berm, am I correct? The berm's in front of the fence. We have a bunch of dead, and one of the
Correct.
quotes in there is to repair and replace the dead that is in the berm currently.
But I
Remember,
thought one
repeat
of
what you just
the,
said, Tony?
I'm sorry?
Repeat what you just
To
said?
replace the dead in the berm. Isn't that one of the
The
quotes here?
hedges.
The hedges, yeah.
Yeah, we're
right,
not,
yeah,
the
the
quote
hedges
is
and
not
holes in
to,
it.
the quote is not to level out the berm or change the positioning of the berm or anything.
No,
Yeah.
From what I
That's a separate quote for the
that'd be
fence.
finished.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
What last time we had the discussion, at the last meeting, it was, we needed to have some kind of visual barrier between the community and the school.
Just the school, right?
Right, and that visual barrier could be a berm with foliage that covers 75% of the.
That is kind of long, yes.
And, or a fence. Right,
Anything
that's, or a fence,
Yeah.
right? And so we're putting the fence, if
75%
if we're repairing the fence, then if we go with the berm, then there's no need to repair the fence. You see where I'm going with it? I mean,
Kind of, but here's the thing. We kind of threw out the idea of replacing the fence with large hedges because the repair on the fence is going to be 45, 50, right? We're not going to get that in replacement on any type of land.
so I understand, but 45,
But
50.
if you're saying, you're asking why repair the fence and fix the berm, because it's gonna be twice as hard to repair the fence once the berm's repaired.
Okay, but in repairing the fence, and then when they said replacing all the posts,
Right.
they said they really only expect it to last 3 to 4 years.
Exactly.
So both of the repairs are very short term, in my opinion,
Mhm.
as to presenting or solving the
A
problem.
long-term solution.
Right. And
Tom,
so-
can I interject here since I met with all the contractors?
Sure.
Okay, the only reason why you have one contractor that will quote repairing is because the majority of fence companies will not touch that fence. They're not gonna repair it.
Right, they just want to replace
They
it.
want to replace it.
Because, well, of course they want to replace it, but they're not gonna put bad money into something that's bad. The problem is there's a lot of work involved in that. So that's why those other two will not quote. I had a third one that wouldn't quote it.
Mhm.
You know, you have posts in there that were not concreted in. It's a liability. we're going into hurricane season, how many more seasons will it last? You know, and it's a good idea to repair it, you know, if you want to keep the wooden fence. The other issue out there is the look of the hedges. I mean, it hasn't been taken care of. You have about what? A quarter to almost a half of those hedges are missing, cut
Yeah.
down, and you get little stumps there. So to beautify it also. I don't know that the hedges are gonna really make that much of a difference in
I
border
think, I
from the
mean, my
school.
argument was originally
You know,
was is
You're
that.
still gonna see things from the school. It's not
Right,
gonna
but
really.
my
gonna
argument
make
was
it,
that the law states 75% capacity. So at planting, that's what it says. The first recommendation is to plant a border and a hedge. It's the first recommendation from the county. The second recommendation is to build a brick wall. The last recommendation is to put a fence up. So there's already a fence there. So for security purposes, there's no transmitting through the hedge. If you planted a hedge, I'm just going to give you a rough estimate, it's 690 feet. You plant plants 3 feet apart, 2 foot wide, 6 foot apart, $40 a piece, $50 a piece, I'll round up. You're talking about $10,000 to replace the whole length of it with a new hedge, but the entire length. We have a 15,000 planting budget for the entire year, for everything, including the elements. So if you're gonna, and then a $5,000 fence replacement, so that means we've got $20,000 to play with, and we're looking at spending right out of the gate, and then nothing else will be planted for the whole year. Nothing else will be addressed at that point. So that's not also not a long-term. Even the reserve study only has a 4-year lifespan on the fence, every time you replace it. So do you upgrade the fence, put vinyl in, do you build a brick wall? I mean, and again, it doesn't have to go all the way through the area that's by the residence, which is another 200 feet. The 400 or 500 feet that's surrounding the park is what we're talking about. Not the park of the school, because the law is for commercial property, not for residential property. So I'm just, the reason I stand on this, I don't want to spend $25,000 over 3 years. I just don't want to do that. I mean, it doesn't make any sense. But if you guys feel it does, please. And I can tell you, even bringing up putting in new hedge plants on that, it went sideways.
That's the thing. I mean, here's the thing, it's regardless. The point is, and I think I understand what you're saying, man. You're saying skip the fence repair. The question is, do we want to repair the fence and try to juice another 2 to 3 years out? Or are we walking away from it and just fixing the bill? Because I tell you, we're not spending $47,000 on a fence replacement.
No.
So
Don't have the money.
let's ignore the relevance.
Okay.
So that's one other clarification, this is confusing me, I apologize. But so if we repair the berm on the public park area and put in the 75% of hedge, are we, as a community, responsible for taking care of the berm or the barrier between private homes and the public lands?
Anything we plant, we're responsible for.
No, but we have homeowner association property facing the school, and there's private property facing the school, community, the private homes. Are we responsible for creating a barrier between the private home and the community, the school?
No.
It's not the HOA's responsibility. The homeowner's property goes all the way to that.
So we're just focused right now on the.
We're just
public
focused on
property.
that common.
HOA.
690 feet between my property and the next one.
Okay, right. So for 700 feet, they want $42,000.
4450.
No, I had them give me a price of the entire fence.
Yes, that was for repair.
That
That's
was
what the
going
directive
entire
I got,
length.
that's the directive I received.
So it could be,
From village. all
could be a
the way to
little
the
less.
west.
Okay.
4450 at a max on the whole thing.
The one's going away.
Yours is going away. You had a question, Becca, man?
Yeah, that fence, I know what fence you're talking about, that backs up to that old house.
Yes.
Yeah,
That
Yes.
is sold.
I'm sorry,
He told me he sold that to a developer.
the house, the fence?
That property that backs up that your all's fence, you know, you can see his old ratty house.
Yeah.
He
The
told
purple
me he
house.
sold that to a developer. Would there be any way to negotiate with them to get
Well, I've actually spoken to him, and there's no term on whether they'll come in there. He's staying in place until he decides to develop, and he says it could be years. So he's planning to come out when they come in, but, and it's not been zoned for multiple property. That's what the holdup is getting all the zoning
Good.
and the water stuff done.
I hope
It's
they
gonna
get
take
it.
several years.
And the fence is on our property, so.
Yeah, the fence is on our property, like 2 feet. So,
Okay,
so
So
we're still talking about just, do we want to spend $4,500?
That's the question. Do we want-
That's the real question.
That's what we can do. Do we want to spend the 4450 or less repairing it?
And give us 3 to 4 years to.
Hopefully,
decision.
which I think it will, unless we have a massive hurricane come through.
But yeah, it'll get us shored up through the storm season.
And my thought is that $4,500 can be thrown towards hedges.
I agree with that. I think the fence needs to come down.
Well, it's not coming down anytime soon.
Well, we know that, but it's just, it's coming down on some.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, but we
But,
could,
you know,
then
then,
take the fence
we
down.
can
and
take the
burn.
fence down and put the plants down. And that is
That's
a
a-
total, that is,
probably a $10,000.
It is a $10,000 project, but it's also $5,000 towards not spending fence, with $5,600 in fence.
So it's 4,400 out of the budget.
it's more
And
cost
and it's
effective.
coming out of the Westlake.
Western projects.
Yes.
Hmm?
So,
And that's why I wanted to get the opinion of the group, because I don't want to speak for everybody, like I promise you, doesn't it? If they see the real numbers that you guys actually have quotes, they'll have a different perspective of what they want to do, I can promise you. I was giving them a roundabout, hey, should we do this, should we do that? And consensus was, first of all, they thought it included, just like everyone else, you know, your quote, which is the houses that were behind it, and like I'm trying to explain, it doesn't include that. We're not talking about changing someone's house fence behind it, we're only talking about the common area. If you did want to just fix the fence, you know, I'm pulling mine down, there's gonna be a lot of extra pieces you can have. So it's, and I've got 190 feet.
Here's the thing. It really is, to me, it's all tomato. If we push this, we're gonna be pushing the landscaping too. Another month of pushing Westlake landscaping in this fence. I'm getting tired of pushing these two things.
I've got the rest of the community waiting for mulch.
Can we please how soon do you think you could get together with Westlake?
I'll schedule something this week.
Because as soon as you can get together with Westlake, I'll call a meeting 48 hours in advance, even prior to next month's scheduled meeting, just to get this.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the last time I spoke about this, I was due to the other county for 4 weeks.
I know, I'm just saying.
Right, so let me just be, so the clear is, the Westlake folks here are gonna meet with the Westlake community,
mhm.
Hopefully.
No, we'll do
get
that.
clarity on that, and then we can call a special meeting and decide.
Get the findings,
Where we
get
wanna
the
go.
findings of what the committee found and the residents actually want and move forward.
Okay.
Move forward.
I will schedule a meeting post haste as of tomorrow. I'll put something out to schedule a meeting and I'll let you guys know what's happening.
I think we-
We'll put it on town square, we'll put it on Facebook.
Yeah, so I know that it was a good time to sort of interject here now.
Yes, go ahead.
I won't, voice my reason of being here. Is this okay time to talk?
Yes,
Or-
please go.
Okay. So I live on Knob Tree Drive, and the reason I'm here right now is to advocate for myself and unanimously the whole street on my neighbors who all signed and agreed with me that we need some sort of safety and noise abatement behind our homes on Boyette Road.
Mhm.
Since I moved in early 2019, and I've been advocating this since December of 2020 with Brian Radcliffe. Prior to, I've raised this issue a few times. I came to 3 meetings. One was a budget meeting to try to get this into the budget. Then Brian was no longer here, changed companies and everything else just fell apart. So in that time being, it's a large safety concern. I have young kids and there's not much distance between cars flying down our road at 67 miles an hour, all hours of the day. When we first bought the house, there was maybe I think there was one community over there, and now there, in the past 2 years, there's 6 or 7 and more on the way.
I'm trying to think, where is that?
What's your home?
I can't pull up
I'm
on
on,
that.
I'm on Knob Tree Drive, so.
It's on the
back
oaks.
of-
with the oaks back up on.
Oh, okay, I know exactly where you are, okay.
Okay.
Jeff Hoffman, Mr. Hoffman, right?
Yes. So I've individually spoken with the entire neighbors, there's 7 homes of us, it's not a tremendous amount of actual distance to do this. But besides, obviously, besides the safety, there's also a noise concern because of trucks carry 8 tons at 50 miles an hour, and it's, you can't even be a person next to the top.
I'd have to look at a map, but
I have enough.
isn't that
Yeah.
CDD property?
Yes, it's CBD.
That's easy.
There's not much we could do about it.
So I'm.
So CBD meets the first Thursday of every month here in the lake house at 10 o'clock. You can email them, but they'll tell you, you need to come to a meeting, talk to the board about it.
Mac here is the liaison for
Yes.
CDD. I mean, we will
Yeah.
advocate
Yeah.
Yeah.
everything you can get,
Absolutely.
myself or Mac, we will advocate that.
Property outside the fence.
It is.
I'm sorry,
I'm sorry. The county, the property outside the fence of the backyard is all controlled by the CBD. It's not the HOA, the internal part of the neighborhood's responsibility or to manage it. And we don't have, really, we have no say in it whatsoever. So this is gonna be your best course of action.
We couldn't put up a fence if you paid for it and got everyone sign it. No, it really has to go through the CDD.
So, yeah, so as I was saying, is that, we go to the meetings on that Thursday. So we can bring that. It's the first Thursday of every month. So it's gonna be next Thursday at 10 o'clock. If you can't make it, I mean, I'll have someone else to bring up. But if you can email me, what you're wanting, and then we can speak on your behalf and bring it up.
Yeah, I'll do my calendar, make sure I can be there, if I can, and I'll email you, but I'll try to be there. Okay, what should be.
What is your address?
I'm 6319 Knob Street Drive.
Okay, I will email you. Jeffrey?
Yep.
Okay, I'll email you so that you can reply
Okay. Yeah.
and give you that information, so I can send it next week.
I figured we try to get a little bit of unanimous here, HOA on here, but I see, I mean, I talked, the problem is I'm here also because I talked to CDG and all they did was immediately dismiss me and just say, oh, the cost is too high. I'm like, how do you know the cost is too high? You haven't even done any work to find out the cost.
I hate to give you any hope in that department, but we fight the same battles.
If I say that, actually, yeah.
Well, I mean, it's, you get down to a situation where liabilities and things like that, because my neighbor, the pictures of the phone, like, there was a car wreck right in front of it, in his backyard. And if that was a fenced in yard, for the kids, and literally right there, so it's great.
You might entertain the fact that I'm just throwing this out there, being kind of a numbers guy, but when things like that affect only 7 homes, there's a couple things that affect the way that they do things. So they're not gonna affect everyone's dues for your 7 homes. So they're gonna ask probably for an assessment on the 7 homes. So if you can throw that out as being an option, it may have a better consideration for your problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, they all actually, when I brought it up, knocked on the door, they're like, oh my God, exactly, this is what we definitely need this, and they're all on board for chipping in, right? Some sort
Use
of.
that, use that, trust me.
Yeah, so that's good then. So yeah, anything you guys can help me with too in the battle, since it's been going on since 2020.
Sure. Thank you for that. We'll do our best. All right, get us the information.
Thank
I'm
you, Jeff.
emailing you now.
Yeah, we won't take it out.
Okay, just to finalize on that, I'm gonna put in a motion to table the Westlake.
And the meeting this week.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Westlake Landscaping, do we have any discussion on that, or can I put in a motion?
Would that be related at this point?
Yes. I'm gonna put in a motion to table the Westlake Landscaping.
Are they severable, or is there a,
And that's the one for, of course, what we're talking about right in front of.
but isn't some bits are circled in pins?
So can I ask the board of something? One of the quotes is for mulch. And I have like 4 other areas that have been asking when their mulch is gonna be installed, and we're not installing it because we're waiting on Westlake. It's in the 2nd month.
Right.
So can we at least approve the mulch quote?
I haven't accepted it on
I
your-
mean,
But
you
they-
are gonna get mulch anyway. I mean, the other stuff is just fluff, right? So,
I would like not to do that. I'd like to hold on that so we kind of get everything mulched around the same time. If we could get this done in a week, it's just another week and a half.
So they're not, the different parts of the landscaping are not separable. In other words, we can't make a motion to vote for.
I'm sure they are, but
one.
you know, we're dealing with a Westlake landscaping project as a whole. You know, you got the berm, you got the 3 islands. We've been sitting to get this done for, I don't know, 2 years now.
So that's the mulch that she's talking about, not the rest of the.
No, the rest of the community as well, but I'd like to get that signed, sealed, delivered, so we're mulching everything at the same time, it's all aging the same. Yeah. But point is, I don't think 2 weeks, one way or the other, is gonna make a difference. That's just my opinion.
Okay. I mulch my own yard. so it's my own.
This is for, the mulch isn't for the yards. It's
I know,
for
for
the
the-
islands.
I know.
Motion to table the Westlake landscaping.
I'll second that motion.
All those in favor?
Hi,
Thank you.
Opposed, thank you. Motion carries. Okay, 2021 audit.
You bet.
Yep,
Okay, so I did speak with Rob Milner on 2 occasions, and what has changed in calculations that he was able to print out to me makes it very easy to follow now, is that as of 2020, there was a law for accounting for reserve as non-income. So when we contribute to the reserves, it's not income, it doesn't get spent as income until we spend it from the reserves. That's something that's new in the accounting for HOAs. So the $203,000 discrepancy has been accounted for. So I'm going to concur with your recommendation to go ahead and approve this audit and get it done.
okay, I'll make a motion to approve the 2021 audit. Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Board member terms. We've talked about this quite a bit last time. My suggestion here is that we table this until we rewrite our bylaws for a possible 3-year term.
I will second that motion.
All those in favor?
hi.
Can you back up? I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
The board member terms, the motion is to table this until we rewrite our bylaws for a possible 3-year term.
So you've read your bylaws?
No,
Rewritten.
Rewritten.
Amended
Okay,
that.
like, wait a
The
minute.
bylaws have 2 years, there's the suggestion we go to 3 years, then we don't have this problem.
And break it up.
And
Then we be able to decide what city will do.
And so I had to come up with the details on that.
yeah, he's telling me that it was, gentlemen.
Okay, new business. We'll move on to pool splash pad repair. Anyone have any questions, comments, or concerns on that? So Suncoast Pool is doing repair. They cost the parts $3,513.97 out of reserves. Its labor rate is $95 an hour. He's estimating about 8 hours worth of work.
I'll make a motion to prove that people want that. So,
Well,
splash pad.
Oh,
Go ahead.
okay, I just would like to know, what exactly all needed to be repaired, because there was, on that quote, there was, I wasn't clear on everything they wanted to repair there, and is it everything that needs, is it necessary to repair those to, pass the inspection? Because this pool thing, it tells me, I don't know what a dumping bell is at a,
I can help clarify a little bit for you,
Dumping water.
but if you do go there.
I do, I thought, yeah. Okay,
it's-
so are
it's
you
this
saying
area.
that all of these little parts in the children's
Yes.
pool
It's
are
all
broken?
that little area,
Yeah.
it's all broken.
And then we're out.
Problem
They
there.
wear out, I mean, the kids get so rambunctious, I mean, they can cut themselves. So that's why we turn the water off to avoid, or not to entice them to come in even if some still are.
I only had one question, which is, and it's kind of going along the same lines, is if they're going to break all the time and wear out, is there another type of non-metal pool play thing that you could replace it with?
There, in my opinion, and this is probably better answered by Heather a little bit, but in my opinion, like, part of this is sourcing all this stuff from Canada. You would think we're in the middle of a water capital of the world. Like, why is there not a Florida-based company making this stuff?
The developer used that.
Oh, I know, yeah, I know the reason, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, if it comes to resurfacing the pool, because that is like built into the gunite, the bottom of the pool, that's when we look at replacing.
Okay.
That's just my opinion.
And just to let you know, the area that's underneath with the netting, that's constantly getting broken.
All the
And
time.
it's not because of it just being bad, if the kids just get rambunctious, they fly, right? So.
Strong kids, I'm sorry.
So I guess the answer is,
No, that's what I'm saying, I'm trying to think of it in terms of getting it kid-proofed as much as possible.
Right.
I don't really like it, either, but my bet is to do it right, is a much higher figure than to
Oh, I'm sure. it is.
fix it, and you're never gonna match that gunite that's currently aging.
Got it. Just a question.
And it's a very good
So,
valid question.
So I think we can put it up for motion. I recommend we.
You made the motion.
I made the motion, I just
I
need.
second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Yeah, fix it.
Just a quick question. How much will they go for reserve?
It'll be 3,513
Plus 8 times 95.
plus 8 times 95.
No, it's from reserve, it's not from budget.
It's from.
Oh, from pool reserve budget, just. let
From,
you know.
yeah, I use $1,000 for the remaining of the year on the pool. Forever?
Yeah, it's something more.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If we could always put more money in next year.
How much we put in? How much on
It was like $660.
that? Yeah, it's gonna increase after reserve study kicks in for 2020.
You know, if an emergency happens, we'll vote on it, we'll move what we.
Right, remove it from somewhere.
All we can do.
That leads into
So,
something I'm just
Thank
gonna
you.
make a description of. You know, the way that we're doing it is we're doing by funding on each of the items, individual funding each item, which the pool, I think I put this on the reserve study, is kind of pulling it all together so we can pull what we need to. That's why that recommendation is there for the future.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, fire protection. I can explain this a little bit if it is confusing, because it is confusing.
I trust your judgment.
We currently have signs. So we got 2 bids here. We got one from Signs, one from Piper. I don't recommend Signs for a lot of reasons. I've had to work with them over the phone a few times and they're absolutely horrible. But needless to say, our annual inspections with Signs is about $1,935. The reason we have another quote is to move off of copper phone lines, which we are cutting and getting rid of right now, to go to cellular. We have 3 fire plans. We have one right here behind me, one across the way in the fitness center, and one over here in the gaming. I'd like to spend the money and get those 3 on cellular, because ultimately it saves us a ton of money in the long run.
So that's what the cellular installation costs are that you see in the bid?
Yes, so Signs wants $2,700 up front for the hardware to install, $1,600 annually for the monitoring.
But you want to go with Piper.
I do want to go with Piper. I actually beat these 2 companies against each other really hard.
Oh, yeah, they're very similar.
I was kind of shocked the way it did, because Piper was originally $1,000 higher, and they came down.
The
So
annual inspection goes down substantially.
the annual inspection goes down. Piper wants $2,894 for the cellular install, $1,620 for annual monitor.
And the cost savings for overall.
The cost savings is $700 difference
Well,
between.
from our current.
From our current, it's quite a bit, because, and here's the thing, it's a little bit of a trick question here, because we were paying $40 per phone line. We're paying for 2 phone lines. We were not in compliance doing that. We need 4 lines here at this building, and they want $40 per line per month. So to do things right, you're looking at a substantial amount of money, which also comes out of cut. Remember, I said we're saving over $300 a month switching from Spectrum to Frontier. Part of that is because I'm cutting the copper lines out. So the overall savings is probably, let's see,
thought you said 4.
4, but we're technically already paying for 2. We would need to do an increase to 1,440 a year to get the phone lines to where we need them to be. I don't really know. We're looking at 1,440 a year increase from our 1080 that we're spending now. So here's the thing, instead of spending the 1080 that we spend now, we're gonna be spending 1,680, and the problem's gonna be taken care of. The question is the cellular cost. So the upfront cost is a one-time fee for $28.94, so it's called $2,900. If we don't go that route, gotta spend $2,400 with Spectrum for phone lines at the end of the 12-month period.
Got it. So it all sense. Over there, an annual increase for cost. So where would the budget go from? In your mind?
The cost to do the wire, the one-time
installs,
flat, the
yeah.
installs, it's operating.
Even the fire protection on
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's gonna go that much line out. Long.
It will, and we'll make a note, we know why.
them. 65, 65. Maybe it'll go over a little bit.
So, yeah, it'll go over, and we're not gonna budget for it next year. It's a one-time fee.
No, I mean, because it goes into to assets, we also have to make sure that's included in the reserve study for the form.
Yeah, no, agreed.
It should be. It should already be listed.
Well, if we didn't, it depends when he took
He
it.
looked at
The
everything.
numbers have changed.
But-
Well, yeah, the numbers changed. That's something that we can talk to them
I have
about.
the meeting, I'm forming out there from the
But-
check.
This is, $2,900 worth of equipment we didn't have. when we did it.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
But it would be $2,700 for the other one anyhow, so it's only $200 difference.
Well, between the two
Between
providers,
the two.
but in general, we don't have it.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm go, I have one other thing, because I talked to James earlier this afternoon. I'm not 100% sure on this, but the annual inspections of 1,039, right? He says he could take care of most of that in-house. And he's probably right. I don't know, does that 1,039 include the fire extinguishers?
Yes.
It does, okay.
Okay.
No, they will, but if you look at the code, if you look at the breakdown when you're getting that number from, there's things like just replacing batteries. And everything.
Yeah, I mean, for instance, the
Stuff like that.
batteries in these emergency lights you can do. That's an easy
Yeah.
thing, but the sprinklers, the
No.
fire extinguishers, stuff like that, he's not certified to be able to inspect those.
I'm just,
We can
yeah,
do some repairs.
I'm just saying less than the 1,039, that's kind of an all-inclusive, they come and do everything, and the reality is, when you look at the breakdown, they really want to.
If you, Tommy, if you
Okay, but
look
is
at
it
the,
several?
if you look at the Piper,
Mhm.
Can you go
well,
back?
they're both broken down, but I like Piper's breakdown because you can check mark which ones you want. So like the emergency exit lighting check, we don't have to do that.
Right,
The other things though are,
but if I remember
Yeah.
correctly too, the 1,039, that's an annual inspection, but that's not a contractual. That's just their cost of doing the annual inspection.
well, you're signing a contract. to have-
We're signing a contract for monitoring and.
And you're
lights.
signing a contract for monitoring.
Right.
It's two different. You've got the
But it's-
inspections and then you have the monitoring, two different.
It's a year by year, right?
It is.
Okay, so that.
Conformance.
It doesn't mean much.
Well, no, wait a minute, they might do 3 years.
Okay.
But, and that's negotiable.
Okay.
Okay. Heather,
Yeah.
on Piper's proposal, under like the emergency lighting,
Mhm.
it says cost per inspection, $6.95, but then it says a service call of $65.
Right,
So if I read this correctly, they're right, if they come out to do the inspection, it starts with $65 for them to show up on their doorstep and then do the inspection of the lighters of $6.95 each.
right.
So $695 per light.
Yeah,
No, it's not, yeah, 695 for light, that's what I'm saying. You don't have to choose the lighting one because that can be done in-house.
Okay. So
Just
it
like
is-
there are
there are
separate
several, which
So
is
it's
not
broken
acceptable.
down. It's a
I'm
manual.
sorry?
Yeah, it's a manual.
Each item is severable, we can choose to.
Yes, That's why there's initials at either side, so you can choose to do them. But I mean, obviously, the ones above the lighting, those are required. Because fire marshal will come, and he did come in and do an inspection today. I will tell you that as long as I've been here, he hasn't been here, and he even admitted, the county kind of pushes for them to only come every 5 years. I told him I would appreciate him coming yearly. It's not charged, they don't charge you for it, so let's be safe. And so he is submitting his reports to me, but I did tell him what you guys were going, I did tell him what you were gonna be voting on tonight. And the minute, whoever you choose, then I have to go ahead and go. I have to go forth with the inspections so we can be in compliance.
Well,
Are we at 5 years at this point? Are we at 5 years? It's kind of requires every 5 years, right?
I'm sorry, Will's asking a question, what?
Sorry.
that's okay. You started and I stopped, so go ahead. When was the last time we did a 90-minute test on exit and emergency lights?
They didn't have the batteries weren't working. So there are no batteries in them right now, so JR's getting the battery, we think got batteries.
JR got me the tags, and they said 2020.
Yeah, well, the sprinklers are 2020. Mhm.
Okay, so we're in compliance until a couple of years, so,
Mm,
no, we don't think so.
No, you're not
No,
in
you can come
compliance.
every year. I think what I
Well,
just
she
did, you
said
say,
you're not in
they
compliance.
just
That's-
say come.
You're supposed to have the test done once a year according to code.
Exactly.
We just got busted in Emily Arena, so.
The fire actually comes or not, to see that we're doing it, we have to do it.
These
Well,
are
because your
April-
insurance wants us to do that, so we have to do it once a year for everything battery backup. Just because the battery says it's 3 years old, you still have to do it once a year, because if it does go off and you say, oh, it's a 3-year battery, it doesn't mean it's gonna work. 90 minutes is what we're supposed to test them at.
Understood.
It is exactly right.
So we have to kind of pick a.
We really have to do.
So, like, if I make a motion to approve the Piper,
Second.
Well, my question though is, what is it of Piper are we improving? I mean, since this seems to be a.
Like, there's,
No, because they talked about not doing the emergency lighting.
So.
Well,
So you're talking,
Yeah,
well, I went back and I looked at the lighting, it's not significant, and I would like us to be in compliance if that is something that is required.
I don't have a proposal, what is the numbers on the lighting?
here's what we do. I mean, it was like, the proposal, the motion is to approve Piper at 1,039 or less. If we could save money on certain items, and then most definitely will.
But the lights are in that $1,039.
That's why I said or less.
Right.
So if James is there and says, hey, I can do this, then we'll chip that off and the price will be lower.
So I second the motion. For the $1,039.
All those, yeah, I was just gonna say, how do we want to do this? Johanna, do you want
Total
to?
amount.
Yeah, correct.
All right, so Johanna, your motion is to approve
but the 100.
1,039 for annual inspections.
That's not.
But we we need the whole thing ultimately.
We need to approve spending the money for that if we need to.
Okay, well, I want a motion, that's my motion right now.
Max seconded, all those in favor?
I missed the clarification of what is your motion?
It's for the Pipers, the annual inspection of the 1,039 or
Oh,
less.
so the annual inspection only, not the cellular installation.
We can talk,
My next one.
well, we'll get to that one next.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify that
Yes.
we're doing this step by step,
Yeah,
not all at once.
That's what the time.
Okay. My apologies.
it's okay.
All those in favor for Piper on an annual inspection?
I,
Opposed, motion carries. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve Piper for a cellular install of $2,894.35 with a $1,620 annually monitoring fee.
And this is,
and the reasoning for that over is even though they're more expensive?
They're actually not. You look, I have to pay 10, if you look at the one underneath it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm trying to keep it with Piper, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at the bottom, our option is 1080 for
Mhm.
annual mileage
Mhm.
plus 1680. So you're looking at 24 plus 24, you're looking at 1680 to 2400 annually for Spectrum phone.
Both are good.
But
They're the same cost.
these are the same cost. I'm looking at the same
Yes,
cost
because
here.
one's no cellular install. See, this doesn't come with that cellular install as the one above it. The one comes with the $2,900 cellular installation.
Oh, that's the difference.
Right. And so instead of paying 1080 for annual, they bump it up to 1620 because we have to pay a little bit for the cellular chip that's in there. It's like a cell phone, monthly bill, right? So that's why the monitoring goes up to 1620.
So the 1620 plus the annual is still less than our budget.
It's still less than the budget, right?
The 1039 we just approved is included in that. So we have $3,100 in budget, so we're under that by about $500. So so then we're talking about a capital expense on a separate item as well, right? For the equipment.
For the equipment.
Right.
So I think, if we're staying on the budget on monitoring costs, what we save on that can go towards some of the capital expenses. We start to come up with, a reason for the capital expense. We have a valid reason for reason to apply to a budget line.
I would normally agree with you, but I don't want to hide behind that the cost savings is already kind of pushed toward the network improvement project. Because that's kind of where I took out the savings here.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's always great to see that in the long run it'll save, but in the short run is what we have to worry about because we only have the short run.
Exactly. Okay. I didn't realize that these two lines were either or.
It was a rough one. Yeah, I know. It was the best way I could kind of simplify it down. For me.
Okay.
Either way. Okay, so I'll redo the motion. Making a motion to approve Piper for the $2,894.
Here, so we're talking about a fire notification system. Cellular is inherently less reliable than that item.
Actually, they want you to go cellular.
It's not my question.
Okay.
Have we factored that in? And yes, it's cheaper maybe, but it's maybe not as reliable. Atmospheric conditions, hurricanes.
Sure.
According to the fire
I
marshal.
don't agree with that statement.
He says the most reliable is cellular, everyone's going cellular. Because the lines on the phone lines, they're buried, they're not always protected. They get damaged. That's what the fire marshal said to me this morning. Or inspector, I know.
I hear what you're saying,
I
but
can say that.
My whole point is, I mean, and granted, this was years ago. Katrina hit, cell towers were down, everything was offline.
sure.
You can still pick up your phone and get a dot on it.
Right.
I'm just saying, strictly from an engineering perspective, the POTS lines are gonna be more reliable.
Yeah, provided they're not broken, you're 100% correct. Yeah, that's a personal debate. I hear you. I really do.
That's just the point I wanted the board to know about. It's like, is it really going to matter? Probably not. But there could be worst case scenario that your hurricane hits and your gas line goes up.
It could
Potentially could happen.
It could go the direct opposite. I mean, our tap is 10 feet that way under a mushroom top box. Hurricane hits that tap, breaks our phones down.
Fair.
6 of this, half does the other. I say take the savings and the easy.
Fair.
No, I mean,
I just
but
wanted to
they
bring it up.
had a valid
It does.
point.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point.
It's an argument that goes.
It's why you used to have, and I still have a line, a phone, the old line phone, which you can plug into the line. Because.
I'm sorry.
No, I have one.
Would it be,
It is different though. That's a voice line.
Yes.
Right,
That's a common line.
Okay, go ahead.
but if you lose power, you can still have your phone.
It's still a voice.
would it be worthwhile running this by our insurance company?
No. It just, in practice, no. They're not gonna have a preference one.
You,
They want
you're
monitoring.
speaking to them?
I'm speaking for, I'm in and out of probably 1,000 small businesses over the past 10 years of my life. Wireless monitoring is the way everyone's going. I just converted to Chicago manufacturer.
And my whole point of bringing it up is so the board was informed that, we have wireless for our alarm system in our house. But it is slightly less reliable overall from an engineering perspective than a landline. It just is. So, I mean, it's.
And again, John, I really don't want to push this wherever we choose, because right now we're all in the air quotes. We're not getting fixed anytime soon, so don't burn this place down. And Frontier's coming in May 7th to do their swap out, so this would be right in conjunction with getting all that back on.
Oh, we haven't had a second, I'll second it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion. Okay, Sagewood Gate maintenance. Discussion is needed. I'll get why I said that, but just to recap, after Accurate Electronics wants $111.39 monthly.
Which, right, goes out to 1,336.68 annually.
Nice. And Southern Automated Access wanted $760 annually, so they are cheaper. The reason I say needs discussion is not so much price. I'm not a fan of Accurate Electric, but moreover, do we really need Sagewood Gate maintenance?
So JR's not familiar with gates. Yes, he could probably teach himself and we could order the parts. But we've had to have Rob out from Southern Access a few times to reset things. JR is open to learning about anything. But I will tell you, I had a very experienced maintenance person who knew gates, and he still had to rely on a company to come in and do the quarterly maintenance, make sure the belts are working properly, the motor's working properly, and all of that. They get back with us and let us know what the parts are. We could probably order the parts and maybe Jared could teach himself how to install them. I don't know.
That's my only question. I'm not saying we don't need a company. We need a repair company. But it's
Yeah.
kind of like, you know, I don't pay maintenance to get my garage door fixed. I know this isn't relevant, but I call when it's broken. So my
Well,
question is, do we really need maintenance on this thing?
So when you have an expensive asset such as a gate that gets constant use hundreds and hundreds of times a day,
Right, which there's not a lot of it.
Well, how much is that?
Sorry, folks on Zoom, our internet dropped out for a moment there.
It's at 2,500 for the year. We budgeted 2,500 for the year on that for Sagewood. You're welcome.
And theoretically, if it's maintained on a quarterly basis, you might have less breakdowns.
That's my point. Yeah, that's my point. On a big asset like that.
If we had $2,500 in the budget and we're spending 800 to 1,300, which won't be paid.
Yeah.
We would still have $1,200 in that budget for
For parts if they went down.
unexpected.
Right. I mean, what happens if some, see, right now, yeah. Correct. It's just like you have a maintenance thing on the HVAC here, right? Yeah, okay. Got it. Okay, understood. Yeah, you're budgeted 2,500 for the year on that line item through Sagewood.
Well, given that, I would make the motion to, where per one is the Southern Automatic Access, is that?
Southern is the one that's coming out and doing, you know, the repairs when we need it.
If you're gonna go on.
And he's familiar.
Cheaper, not accurate, and even if we don't do it for a year, I know they are.
Mhm.
The range system,
Right.
So can we recommend it?
So,
Oh.
yeah. Motion for the. All in favor? Vote. Motion carries.
Just a comment after this, no, we spent $430 on cable last year. Yeah.
It's okay for peace of mind, especially here.
If I may, as gates get older, obviously they are open and closing all the time. Most of our communities that have gates, the gate is one of the top three
Horrible.
most expensive pieces of equipment they have.
Absolutely.
As that gate gets older, they start to use it more. It'll become a larger line.
Okay, violation of finding policy. We have a chance, everyone has a chance to review that. We do have recommended motion to approve. Pretty much just the policy and adoption of the order of terms. Recommended change.
And that's in this review. There's no numbers on it.
This is the violation and finding policy. This is not collections. Yeah.
It should be this one. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So we're making the changes that you recommend.
That's right.
so just so everyone that can hear that some of the things within the second violation notification that added sentence of the date of the finding communicator will be noted in the letter. There's some minor wording changes. Basically, we're talking, bringing in wording more with the finding committee, making sure that the wording is going to be interfering. Is that kind of what we're kind of editing a little bit from what I gather from this?
Yeah, so George is making some changes here because not like putting that voice on the order for requesting hearings for the date or stone going out there in the letter. Since 24 hours is a short time for management to do re-inspection, it would leave it open-ended and make a clear notice the position of the fine would not go out, so the violation is verified again by association. Letter needs to go out after the position of the fine being going at least 5 days a day. Okay, I agree with that. This is not exactly true or precise. Oh, here it says fine might impose. Fine may be imposed by the fining committee without any further action. George says it's not precise. The committee approves or rejects the fine, then a letter should go out to the owner or tenant explaining the fine. Within 5 days after the letter is sent. Okay. And it's the same thing again. The owner should not be the owner for requesting hearing, date in there. And
That's what I haven't necessarily do.
which one? That one. Okay.
If the owner doesn't want to appeal, then they don't take action.
Right.
I mean, I think they should have a choice to do that. But
I could go either way. I guess choices don't.
if, Then I'm sure.
I'm never give that.
Because implicit of this is going to be set monthly finding meeting that they have. to-
That's the other thing I would say. Keeps the timing maybe with something.
Right, just an agreement, whatever, nobody shows up, it's like court. They show up.
So I'm not supposed to.
So can we go back to the section about the 20 hours, short period of time for the management to do a re-inspection? We leave it open-ended and make it clear. I don't like open-ended. That's very ambiguous. I mean, I don't understand why you wouldn't want some kind of set time period.
I want to hear just to resolve that it's recommended.
Right, it does say that the board getting into it when we can, go to the time frame.
It's a holiday, or Christmas vacation, no fun on that. You get to-
So I think we have it, so they said outside time.
No,
Later than 30 days or something, whatever it's, I don't know, it's such within 20.
And I agree, 24 hours is. But on the other hand, I don't want to, whenever. Yeah.
And we, what do we want?
What do we have in that?
24 hours.
Oh, so you will just, I've seen them, just.
Correct. He's just saying. Open-ended.
You've referred to his draft of one. If you scroll down a little bit more, he's giving you a draft.
What page is that?
95.
95. Okay, let's
Yes, ma'am.
look at 95.
I'm sorry, 94 is where it starts.
Okay, 94. It starts at 94. So this is the recommended draft. So those were kind of where we would know. This is actually what we would be. So they're saying that they be advised of a deadline to which. I would say, I'm looking at, page 95 notes. And it's the number, it's, part A, number 2. Smaller.
Your Honor, how can we advise the deadline?
That's not the inspection.
That's not the re-inspection.
The re-inspection, so we want to go to on-site inspection would be, I think it's over here, on-site inspection and the previous page, I think, documentation of violation. The manager on-site official will conduct a regular inspection. Not with the big changes.
Yeah, they're trying to go with the re-inspection.
We inspect, we inspect.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm sure.
So he's talking about statutes. Critical statutes. Basically, I know you're talking 24 hours. But if you look at that, then
Yeah, I'm not really.
it's not.
So on the time of the practice, it's started by the time. I'm not seeing this.
We just pull up.
I think there needs to be where.
In Georgia's reaction, there's going to be a inspection.
Yeah. When we put, I mean, I think we should add that. Yeah.
Well, I can't move forward with anything until, don't rush. I mean, if you want something ironed out, little, written differently, we can do that and put this on May's agenda.
Yeah, because I can't make suggestions here, which is great, I give you a suggestion, but you didn't put that, it's not in the language, it's draft.
Yeah.
You need a suggestion, do something, then to do it.
So we need to go over the suggestions as well. We would like that there be a re-inspection, I guess, or something we'll have to. Guess I don't know.
So I'm saying re-inspection's a good idea, just 24 hours is an unreasonable time for the board or anybody to get out there to do the inspection.
I'll talk to George about this. Done. What, Kathy, what's your recommendation? 14 days, 7 days, something like that.
I mean, you can approve it based,
Because you have to have it 14 by the 14-day mark. If it's, so you keep it ambiguous, so you give the full 13 days and 23 hours. Because if you don't do that and a million players pop up and the manager can't go make that inspection until that last night, then you have to schedule a new one and let the violation go. So that's why they suggest we leave it as open as we can. So, because what's going to happen, that violation, whatever verbiage is in here is going to be used against the board by homeowners whenever they have a chance. So that's why you want to keep it as ambiguous as possible, so that the board is provided every opportunity to make that re-inspection, even if it's on that 14th day.
So the draft actually does go ahead and states that the notice that you're sending out, you prescribe the amount of time for them to go ahead and.
But that could be done by that's dangerous too, because then you put one for 7 days and one for 14 days.
Those should be defined by your governing documents. Most of your documents would tell you if it's this kind of violation, you have X amount of days to do that.
No, we're not.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean, it specifically states that if the violation is not clear within the time prescribed in the out of compliance application, hence you guys can decide, you know, whether it's. Issue that's like prescribed, you have 10 days, you know, to fix it. Whatever we know, then anyway.
Right, what I'm trying to say is it falls into selective enforcement, where if you give somebody 7 days, you give somebody 15 days, you give somebody 30 days. What's the reason for the difference timelines?
huh? Yeah, if you refer to your ARC guidelines, they do state certain things that are 5, 10, 30 days.
For re-inspection.
Well, so you would re-inspect.
Right.
If you give them.
We talked about this earlier.
Let's put that wording in that we will be using that as a guideline.
Or before they get this, something like that, right?
Right, that would work.
I don't remember that in the review.
I can't hear everybody.
I think the suggestion was to refer to the charter subparagraph for timeline on each item.
It's in your ARC guidelines, not your charter.
Okay, yes, yes.
Yeah, or you could just say governing documents and keep it, again, open. You don't want to tie yourself to one thing. So if you say governing documents, then that includes all governing documents.
So, and some of the reasons for that obviously is your manager is going to have a set amount of time to do inspections. If you have 40 inspections every month and they all have different days, typically they would go out and do inspections on an X amount of days. If you prescribe 4 days for this, 5 days for that, all they're going to be doing here is.
I'll be outside all the time.
Right. My argument is to make it as long as possible, say within 30 days. So
My rule of thumb has always been when I had a first or a second notice, I would do first notice, they have 30 days to comply. And then I would re-inspect on the 31 day nearest to, and then I would give 15 days compliance. After that, then it goes to fining. But that community had 2 notices. You only have 1. So I could give 30 days all across the board. That's fine. But like TJ said, I'll be out all the time if they're scattered like they are right now.
So would it be better if we go to the face of the 30 days, is what you're saying?
I think that would be a reasonable thing. I mean, within 30 days. Absolutely. It's 30 days from the date of the letter is basically what it is. So I think that gives people ample time.
Yeah, I agree.
it's hopefully within that time, but not all that data.
So what is what have you decided?
Well, we.
Are you going to table this? You can do that too, if that's the only change.
The motion to table this until we get it corrected.
I second.
All in favor?
It's going to be sooner rather than later.
Okay, election policy. What everyone's doing.
They didn't review all those notes. Sorry.
I talked to Mark about it this week. I talked to Heather about it, and I wanted to read the ball and she did. 340.
It was 341, if I remember right.
We didn't get any votes. I still do that as a win because it was debated and one whether it's one way or the other. The question is, that should make the massive tax bill. Now, the answer is to correct the. So, this is what I printed out. I just saw a little bit of the verbiage change here.
This is not what you have on your last revision, correct?
That's it, correct. Again, I think my last word would be dollar. My suggestion is if you say annual quarterly monthly special assessments will have a 15-day grace period and will be the week we see them 15th day of each month, which they are due. Should the 15th day fall on the weekend, holiday payment must be waited the first district required and 15 days before you. I think that's fair. Yep, that's fine. Second, we're going to change here is assessments are not received, if assessments are not received by 15th day of each month, a late fee of $25 plus and the admin fee will be levied at that time. The HOA will then send over a notice of late assessment, which provides the homeowner 30 days from which the date of the notice of late assessment to remit all overdue assessments in full. If all overdue assessments are not paid within that deadline, then those final assessment return to start the collections process. What I really changed there is I just made it a little more clear that when it goes to the trade, it is already reflection. That's what it's at that point in time. 15 days means 15 days, and the late fee is flat $25 and not half 18%. It's coming in for everyone. Yeah, I added admin fees because we cover admin. So 15 days, it's like admin fees are assessed.
Right, you have to go, I mean, not choosing the charter.
No.
Okay, so charter does have 18%, so you can't go that.
I thought specifically and or jumps higher.
No, you can go up to 18%.
Right, the greater age.
Statute doesn't allow you to go past that.
$18% is going to be, 32,000 is not. So it's, that's what's important, is that the larger amounts will get gained. Is what the charter says on it. It also goes, says that we give a notice on the 10th day and then within 30 days, so it's over 40. So we're superseding that number within the charter.
We can go back. Again, I made 15 because it makes sense. We can go back to that.
Yeah, because I don't, I mean, it's really hard to change the charter for a fund. So it's the charter state.
I didn't catch the charter.
No, I can wait to. Jason. So, yeah, we've got assessment collection policy, it's 12.6. Obligation assessments are personal obligation by accepting the deed, while following the statements. Important is
starting with together with interest computed from the due date at the rate of 18% per annum. All suspense late charges not to exceed the greater of $25 or 5% is the fee. Not 18%, but 5%. The 18% interest is in the charter on the amount of each installment not paid by the due date thereof. Costs and reasonable attorney's fees, costs would be that $15 is talking about, shall be personal obligation to each owner and will, there's no real deadlines on this. It doesn't say when the deadline is, so that can be changed to whatever you want.
Okay, so what is, go back to the 18%, getting confused whether it's 18 or 5%.
It's an interest rate. So all assessments together with interest computed with, from its due date at a rate of 18% per annum.
That's per annum.
18, then late charges not to exceed the greater of $25 or 5%. Whatever the greater is supposed to. Costs and reasonable attorney's fees shall be the personal obligation of each owner and a lien upon each unit until paid in full. For the cost of the lien is their responsibility as well.
What's our lowest assessment?
$11 a month.
What?
Our lowest assessment per month.
145 is ours.
How much?
145.
145. And what's 18%?
No, it's not 18%.
It's 1.6 a month for 12 months. It's a per annum.
Right, the 5% is the penalty fee.
Yeah.
So 5% of that, you know, it's $6 and change, $7.
So the fee could only be $7.
You're supposed to take the greater of which, so $25 is greater, right? But if you get someone that's got a bunch of money outstanding, obviously, and you have to penalize them in a timely manner.
This, the annual was what, $540 right now, so that's.
I understand this, it could just be 25.
Right, but the language is already in the charter, it can't be.
I'm trying to simplify it because I don't understand what it is. Yeah, I think we just need to, if it's just 25. I get paid Visa late.
Well, so you're gonna say $25 is, you know, I mean, in this case, 25 will always be the greater, is what we're assuming is gonna happen. If we're doing our job right, we'll always be the greater.
That's what I was looking at.
Okay. And that's the case. If we're doing our job right, we don't do assessments at times, we have a whole bunch of money outstanding.
That's right. Years, 18%. For 2 years.
I agree it's a lot of money, but then it's a 2 year thing.
Well, if it gets to the 2 year mark, there'll be an attorney status. And it'll be a different situation.
Right, I mean, if you're charging the interest correctly anyway, it's still an obligation. It's another thing to make sure that you try to pay it faster because it's compounding. I mean, so I realized what I said, in my previous experience, we had an interest rate as well. I mean, 18% is easy, 1.5 per month, it's pretty easy to figure out.
Well, you have to provide that interest rate because when the NOAA letters go out with the new, when the new Florida statutes were introduced with the NOAA letters, when you send that out, you have to provide the exact interest rate, the payoff on that date. That's what that letter exists for now. That came into existence in June of last year.
Yeah, it went into effect July 1st.
Right, the payoff through the date that we just given the deadline for it was required, so that's another calculation that we have, if you're actually using that. If we're talking about changing the charter or something, we have to do, I'm sure no one will argue that it's a change. No one will, because it's in that data.
Anyway, this ends the discussion. I wasn't trying to fix.
So just to throw this in, as you're having this discussion, just for knowledge sake, in February or March of last year, when we got ready to enact this late policy for this community, we sent an email to the then President Jeff Leone and then Attorney Kelly Bloom and asked the opinion of whether or not we should include the specific amounts of those fees involved on the management side of that letter. And the attorney's recommendation was not to involve those for similar reasons as to why they recommend not keeping things vague as far as timelines.
So,
yeah, like, so just so you're aware, so like that was the opinion. So I don't know if you wanted to run that by George or not for his opinion, but that was the opinion of Kelly Blue, which is why it wasn't in the late policy when I put it
And I
in.
do think the verbiage of that admin fee needs to be an administrative fees, the verbiage we should use as opposed to a, what do we call it for, labor expense fee, or an administration fee or something like that, just call it an administrative fee, that's the first you hear. But the $25 is a fixed amount in our charter, the administration fee is a fluctuating amount, could go sideways at any time, whatever number we want to put on it. And much like Los Angeles, you get $35 cell phone fee, the administration fee is $1,000 when you're buying a car, so that changes every year. The postage obviously is cost of doing business, right? So I agree with that as well. So I think that the $25 is fine because it is the greater of anything that we're charging at the moment, and it can be reassessed if we have annual dues that would give more than $25 at 5%. So that makes sense. The timing is 15 days is a pretty normal grace period for almost everything in life, so that's a pretty normal thing.
Yeah, it's up there, but I was just trying to simplify it.
No.
But I'm guessing not on the neighbor and the question comes up, what's late?
When it comes to government documents, I always try to make it as consistent as possible from one to the other, so that you don't have one questioning which one takes precedent, because you go backwards. Well, we'll charge you 5%, we didn't skip. And we could, but it's hard to argue that, but as long as we know that that's what it is. I think you just, even if you put it as stated in 12.2, so they know that there is a possibility of that, but 12.6 is. So the, I don't know, I'm making the argument for keeping the time, I mean, the weight fee consistent, that's all that. The rest of it sounds right.
Who's plus any, and the fees, and 12.6.
I'll try to. And if they want to change that down and we're not actually charging them, we're charging them next time. It's fine.
Well, if you really want to get to the nuts and bolts where they can go discover what that fee might be and their concern and the concerns about the management side of it, you could put as listed in the management addendum or exhibit A, because every management company is going to have an exhibit A. So if it changes year over year, if you change management companies, it covers it because it's in exhibit A.
Yeah,
That's available to every homeowner as well.
yeah, that's absolutely, that's good.
So should that, so what you're saying is the administrative fee should say, you know, C.
As defined in exhibit A in the management contract, and then you're covered by it.
As per management.
That isn't simplified, Tom, but it's kind of a CYA, all of the CYA at this point.
Okay, well, I'll make a motion to approve that with the adjustment. Okay.
I thought we had.
Okay. Sorry, I'm
Set it up, yeah.
I'm sorry, what's the motion? Sorry.
I'm making a motion for the collection policy with the change that we just discussed. Having the wording, I'm sorry, what was it? Okay,
If assessments are not received by the 15th day of the month, late fee of $25 plus any admin fees, as stated in 12.26 of the charter, will be levied at that time.
I'm gonna have to get that from you.
There's two parts to it.
I'm not sure.
Okay. So that's,
The second part is specifically pointing to the management.
well, in my opinion, they should be able to obtain what that fee is. Whatever it is, it has to be somewhere, they have to be able to know what that amount is. I think, you know, I think we have to point to where we can find that information.
And Tommy, I might suggest you change it to day 14, so that way on day 15, Heather and Jeff work can pull whatever the delinquencies are for that day and begin the process of administrating, whatever additional late fees and whatnot.
So are you saying you're changing your late date from the 11th to the 15th or 14th, whichever? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, because then what I'll do is on the 15th or 14th, that day after is when I pull the delinquency.
I think that's what Jason said.
Yeah, but
14, so it's on the 15th.
the thing I have to add is that Associa has is it 4 or I think it's 4 business days after that late date to process, because these are all coming in, so they can post them on the exact date, right? So we want to make sure that mailing is done properly. We're getting the mail properly. I mean, somebody mailed it out and we were sitting on a check. We want to give some, that's normal in collections. And then I work with my delinquency coordinator and we send out the NOLAs, the notices.
It's a reasonable amount of time, so I mean, I don't think people can, if we process the fine, and the lawyer's gonna go out that instantaneous second.
No, it can't, because I have to review all the letters myself.
So then the 11th and the 15th becomes
Okay.
3 or 4 days.
I wouldn't tie yourself to a notification day. I would just keep it simple and have a late date,
Okay.
right? So your late date is what date, you know, and then your verbiage said you're changing.
What usually happens with some systems is day 14, you've got your postings, and day 15, your computer system automatically hits ledgers with delinquencies.
So the problem with this thing is with the second sentence then here. Well, you know, we're talking about date, so I mean, you changed to the 14th, but that's providing this does that, does it carry the vision?
Well,
Yeah, so the system doesn't care what day you put in, obviously, whatever day you put in, it's in computer, it's gonna
And that's
generate
what we're gonna make
at midnight on that time, so.
I did that example for the only thing is we're working on that one sentence, a late fee of $25 plus administration fees, which you had before. And what you currently have is plus administration fees as stated in the 12.6 charter. So that's fine, if that covers both of those things. You know, it might be, rather than admin fees, or just any additional fees as stated, because we've got 5%.
Right, and then says parentheses, see to paragraph 12.6.
Now the administration fees are listed there, the 5% listed there, 80% listed there, right? Everything's listed there.
And I assume that we'll go ahead and populate, you know, each one of the charges.
Well,
the ledger tells you, your homeowner's ledger will tell you all of that, but the NOLA letter itself has to tell you all this.
Yeah,
right.
Okay.
I think that's a good way to do it, right? So just see 12.6 for associated.
I think that what plus any additional fees as outlined in 12.6. Sorry, we didn't shoot this up, but just hasn't been, just doing what we should do. Usually, we've got to make a question for the group on this. When we put this in effect in February, is that correct? The current policy that we run with the 11 days is in February, is that correct?
So, do you want me to speak on this?
Go ahead.
So I started middle of February. And I noticed that your delinquency was quite high and things needed to be followed through with on a timely manner. So I went and looked for a late fee policy, couldn't find one. So I went to Kelly Bloom and asked him. He forwarded me the late fee policy that Rosetta provided him.
Right.
I then asked for minutes. There were no minutes. I looked in the computer, no minutes of the board approving that late fee policy. So in order for me to at least enact on the current delinquencies at that time, the meeting was coming up for February. So I had that put on the February agenda for the board to approve. Meanwhile, I then drafted a more detailed collection policy. And that one did have the 11th on there, so I used those dates. I drafted a more detailed collection policy. I sent an email to Kelly. I included Jeff in that email. I told Kelly, my intention is to have this on the May agenda because it needs to include all the extra costs. Please review, make sure my legalese is correct. And his comment back, not quoting, but that it needs to be streamlined, not as wordy. The documents and the contracts back up what's being charged, basically don't have all that other stuff in there. Well, that was my second weekend. right? Board president's not coming back saying, no, I don't agree. There wasn't an opinion, right? So we kept with what you guys approved in February.
So I guess my question would be directed slightly, when did we actually, instead of the first $15 fee at 11 days? When was the first time we did that to a homeowner?
Well, we've been doing that collection fee, that first notice
I want to say this, it was either March or April of that year.
of last year.
So what I'm asking is it our obligation to refund it since the town is told us to do something correctly?
Is it your obligation to do what?
Refund that $15. They wouldn't be late till 40.
No,
It says.
according,
The letter would go off, but no fees were involved at that point. The late fee happened 30 days past the date. So if that's the case, it's a 40 for the new home.
but that $15 is not a late fee. It's an admin cost for the letter to be sent out.
In the charter, it can't be charged until it's assessed as late. And that's an admin fee that we have to incur, but I don't know if we can pass it on to the home.
I would contact your attorney on that. I don't know. I'm not gonna comment on it.
Maybe it's something that needs to be on our agenda to talk about. It's something we're concerned about because technically if you want to do, and I've seen class action suits for us. The same.
Last one. If assessments are not received by the 15th day of the month, the late fee of $25 plus any additional fees as outlined on full desk. The charter will be levied at that time.
Perfect.
In the charter and what? Did you refer to the contract?
I did not.
And you're back to the 15th then?
I'm on the 15th.
So, assessing until the 16th.
That's until children, midnight on 15th, 16th. I don't, I'm gonna speak out, of not referring to the contract fee because we can produce that as the last. Like we can show what the charge is in that. To have it so they can buy all the time. Okay, so sometimes we produce the contract. So I'll see the necessity of making it more difficult for people to understand the fees.
It's the contract fee in 12.6.
No, the contract fee says administration fees of any kind.
It says administrative fees of any kind.
So whatever that fee comes from.
Doesn't matter.
That's not amended.
Okay. I'll make a motion. Make a motion to approve the collection policy with the edited changes.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Motion, any opposed? Motion carried. I would say open for comments at this point, but I'm sure we
Was there a, I'm sorry to interject, but was there a motion on the taxes?
Yeah, none of
I didn't think so, because it's,
He missed it.
yeah, we've got two more things on the agenda.
Oh, I was looking at the wrong column.
Sorry, you got this in
2021 taxes, discussion needed.
They were held up pending the audit information since the tax accountant received the numbers from the auditor. At this point, there's only one question outstanding, which I will clarify, and I did state in my note earlier about until Wednesday. I just want to find out what its basis is for the reduction on our rental expenses. And once I clarify how it's done with that, I will make sure that it's completed and signed. Okay?
You don't really have a motion on it.
I promise I'll be done Wednesday afternoon.
Okay, this next one. Thank you. Accessible TV, 5962 watercolor. I do recommend a motion there. Basically, you have a final judgment for this one. The problem that started back in September 2021, probably before that. I don't know when she was, it just started. Talked on a roof. I guess was the original complaint. Roof problems, they didn't comply, they went through all motions. How we got the case started off in the court, George finished it and got the final judgment.
all fees up to date, like $3,309.46. No, we are in compliance now, we're still looking at it. So as recommended by George, there's a motion to assess those legal fees to be from $2,309. So they went to court already about this, and we have a call?
we went to court and got a judgment to charge that. So you've won that case. So now you can assess the ledger per your charter.
They don't do it. So therefore it goes through the process, they put it and get a judgment against them. They should have, but they're not.
Okay,
Judge said.
okay, so now.
Your charter reads that we cannot recoup legal costs on those unless you've won in court, essentially. So you have won that judgment, so now it's just formality to assess it.
Is it, as we had a conversation every week, just so everyone aware, is this kind of the goal of just about everything that gets to the attorney's level? Once it gets to the attorney's level, we're looking for final judgment. We're making money. Absolutely. Right.
Yes, so I second.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So. Motion carried. Yes, say it.
Now, do we have anything for?
No, there's only
Oh.
one person on there now.
Okay, well,
Vanessa.
Meeting adjourned, thank you very much. What do you want?
Tommy?
I will. I will. Thank you.